our team, and I am so thrilled to be here with Carrie to recap our amazing mastery chat that you just hosted. Was it a whirlwind or what?
Wow. I have been very, very excited to participate in the mastery chats before. I've done a couple of other chats here locally in my state, and I've even moderated those, but oh my golly, this one is just really intense.
It was so busy because you had such a wonderful topic that everyone wanted to share their ideas on. I mean, it was so relevant. I think people took so much away from this chat, and I'm so glad that you're able to moderate it because I saw so many good tips and tricks. You seemed to engage with everybody. I don't know how you did it.
It was really a lot of fun, but I think the most exciting thing was just seeing the passion and the intensity. I know it sounds really weird to come through in a tweet, but the passion and intensity for the relationships with students. People keep saying, oh, the students are missing school. And I'm like, so am I. This is hard. Surprisingly enough, I can be fairly introverted, which doesn't come through to a lot of people.
No.
So, being home is good for me because it lets me recharge until I have to be.
Sure.
And I kind of think that that's where our students are. They say, oh, I don't want to be at school. But, guess who's missing it most is those ones who have told me I don't want to be there.
I know. I have seen a big ebb and flow with people's emotions. And I think that the first step of this whole process is really just recognizing that that's totally okay. I myself have gone through so many ups and downs and everything in between. But I do have to say, I'm so glad that we're still having these mastery chats, that we're still having these conversations, because it is time for us to engage and talk shop and reflect on students. Before we get too far in, because so many people are saying how much they love the chat in the comments. I can't wait to talk all about how amazing this conversation was for the full hour of mastery chat that you just moderated and killed it. But first, will you share a little bit about yourself? I mean, I know a lot about you, but maybe somebody popping in for the first time doesn't know everything about your background in education.
Sure. So I wanted to be a teacher when I was from about kindergarten through ninth grade. And when I went to ninth grade, I found journalism, and I decided I was going to save the world in a different way. So I actually majored in communications at my university, went off and worked in big city where I got married. And I worked for a publishing company for 5 years and did a lot of writing and editing, and stopped and had some children, and we moved to the very small rural town in Kansas where we are now. And we're 2 blocks away from the elementary school my kids went to. So I would stand on the corner, which makes me a, corner stander. So, watch my kids walk back and forth to school. And we have 3 kids in 4 years, so they're very close. And when our youngest started preschool, I would follow the 2 oldest and said to the principal, I'd like to volunteer. And I'm thinking, I'm going to make photocopies. I'll run errands. No, he put me working with kids. And so I was in a classroom pulling kids and reading and actually working with them. And I got to do that 3 times a week. It was so much fun. So I decided I was going to be an emergency substitute. In Kansas, we can do that. And I went the next year, and the very first woman who gave me her 2nd grade class for 2 days, I had my son in it. And I fell in love. So here I am. I'm going to go back to school, and I'm going to be a 2nd grade teacher. And if you know me, so I speak sarcasm fluently. And so
that's what I love about you.
Well, maybe 2nd grade wasn't where I was supposed to be. And I drove an hour every day to the university 3 times a week for 2 years, and picked up then that certification, came back and interviewed for a bunch of 2nd and 4th grade positions and did not get them. And I cried a lot. Got a 6th grade position with the intent of, I'll just move down. And I am finishing year 18. I spent 16 years of those. Yes, I'm old. I spent 16 years of those in 6th grade. And the last 2 years in sixth grade, I kind of split 6-8. And this year and last year, I've been 7-8. And if scheduling stays the same, I will be eighth grade next year. And I'm telling you what, eighth grade is where my heart is. These kids, I call them my adults in training. They're just, they call me mom. They haven't called me grandma yet. And, I love them. And there's just not words enough to say how much I love my kids.
I love your energy, and I love how much you love your kids. I think it's so funny that having you on camera, I'm hoping that everybody popping in, they're all still saying, we love the chat, right? Like all the people still participating in this recap when we get to dive into Mastery Chat. Your energy, your passion, like came through in a tweet. And it's so funny because seeing her in person talking about your students, I'm like, I felt that the whole hour that you hosted this chat. That's not easy to do, Carrie, for real. Like that is not easy to do.
It's just, we talk a lot about multitasking. So my husband is an engineer and he's very, very, and I can hear the TV, read a book, and do something else. And, it's that mom instinct. I really think that is part of it. But part of it is when you're in a classroom with 25 eighth graders, you have to know what's going on in 24 other spots.
Yep. So it makes you a perfect host for a Mastery Chat because there's like 100 things going on at once.
Wow.
Actually, more like 200 things going on at once.
This was crazy. It was crazy.
So let's recap. I know Joe popped in. He said he missed the chat, but he's really glad to be here for the recap. I know a lot of people watch this video afterwards. Maybe they couldn't join on Twitter, or, maybe they just want to get that full picture. What was your vision for this chat? What was the main idea? What was the theme that you were focusing on for this hour?
So, as weird as this is going to sound, it really took me about 10 years to understand how much relationships matter in my classroom. When I asked question 6 about the secondary teachers who say content is what I teach, I'm full disclosure. I was that teacher for a few years, and I taught language arts and I taught reading, and, I read something and it said, I don't teach content, I teach students. And I was like, oh, wow. And the principal we had at that time brought in a classroom discipline management that really focused on those relationships with kids. And I guess I just want us all to understand that if we haven't built those relationships, and I wish I had it because it was on the Mastery Chat somewhere, but if you don't show those kids how much you love them, you can't show them how much you love your content. And I don't know who said that on the Mastery Chat, but wow, thanks for that comment, because that one was kind of exactly what I wanted to get across tonight.
I love that. And it really does. It really was the theme throughout the entire chat. For those of you who are listening right now and you didn't join, there were so many strategies that were focused on how to build those relationships, because right now, while I think a lot of educators are acknowledging the importance, a lot of educators don't know the how behind making it happen.
Yeah.
And this chat is full of strategies.
The one about storytelling was where I started off with. And my kids one year looked at me, so my students one year looked at me and said, you have a story for everything. And I mean, okay, I do. I'm at an age where I've lived long enough. I've had some experiences that, that's part of it. But, I come in every day to my classroom when we can meet physically. And we just adopted a dog in December, and she's 2. And so, I was coming in with dog stories, or, at one time, one of my kids was near Akron, and one of my kids was near El Paso. And so I was coming in with these stories of, oh my gosh, my daughter called, and it was so exciting. And they know my kids' names. They know that I follow IndyCar racing. I mean, they know everything about me. And I don't know how I can't expect to know them if they don't know me. So I always start by oversharing, appropriately, but oversharing. And if I don't do that, they're not going to share with me. We just finished a Zoom chat yesterday. And I got done. I said, okay, anybody have any other questions? And I'm like, looking at the screen and, they're all blank. And finally, this kid raises his hand and I said, okay. And he goes, what's the last vegetable you ate? And that's such a question that we would have said in my classroom, though, because those are the kind of things that where we get started. And yeah, so that's just kind of me.
So what was your answer? What was the last vegetable you ate?
At that time, I think it had been a potato, but I had salad for dinner tonight. So tomato and lettuce.
There you go. So was there any ideas that were shared in the Mastery chat, either to that question or the others that were shared, that you just felt like was such a good answer for how to continuously build those relationships?
One of the ones that came through that, and it may not be the how to, but it was on that first one when I said, so much of what we build those relationships on are gone right now, sports and 4-H. And someone replied, but kids are way more than that. And I think that's sometimes what even I forget, because I'm like, oh, how'd you do on your team? Oh, it was terrible. Oh, I'm really sorry. Okay. Yes, that's building a connection, but that stopping and going, okay, how do you feel? Or what's your next step? That's really where that relationship building comes. It doesn't come from those questions that are here. Like anything else, it comes from when we dig deeper with them. And I think anybody, a stranger on the street, can say, how did you feel? I mean, what did you do? And they're going to answer. But I think it's when we love them enough to invest in them to say, what's your next step? Or why did you do that? Or, and not in the mean way, but I really learned to stop and ask my kids, tell me why, more than anything else. That is my go-to phrase. I should have it on a shirt.
No, but you're right. I mean, it gets to that deeper root, which we have to do with students, or we continue to have this surface level relationship, which then loses any part of its magic when we are not with them physically. And so I think, like, there's a very common phrase about asking why 5 times to solve a problem, because you really try and get to the root of what the dilemma really comes to. And the same thing comes when we're talking to our students. Ask why multiple times to get deeper, because we want to really know the inside, not just the surface level story, right?
I think a lot of us look at relationships as, yeah, we get along. And that's not what a relationship is. Relationships are when that kid is in my room and I go, what's wrong? And the kid goes, nothing. And you pick up a phone an hour later on your plan period and you call the parent and you go, I'm really worried about your kid. There's something going on. This is the 3rd day in a row that X, Y, and Z's happened, and the parent's going, my kid better than I do. And I'm going, no. I just see your kid for a very intense 44 minutes. You see your kid in a broader scope. And I think sometimes having that deeper relationship means making some uncomfortable decisions, but we have to do it for them.
Absolutely. I think that is, not to get too personal, but like, honestly, that's my problem right now. I'm really missing the passing period, seeing a student's face and knowing that I need to pull them to the side to have a conversation. Like, I don't think I realized how meaningful those opportunities are just to like face and check in. And I feel like I'm getting like my content fix, like I'm teaching and my students have learning opportunities. And I'm saying that because that was never really my purpose in the classroom, but I really am like getting my fix of that.
Right.
It's like the face I'm missing, like the like, I want to be able to see you when you're talking, because I never actually heard the words as much as I read your expression.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I say to my kids all the time, I'm really struggling on how much direction to give you, because I'm going to tell you and what I'm telling you. I tell you what I tell you, and then I'm going to tell you what I told you. And like I said, it's just, that's who I am. That's how I want instructions. So it's tending to be how I give them. And so I've done flip grids, screencastifies, written directions, the Zoom calls, sending out emails. Hey, I haven't heard from you. Did you not understand? What can I, and some of the kids are just, I'm trying to find motivation. Okay, you know what? As long as you're okay, and I know that, then we're okay. But yeah,
Well, I'm seeing in the comments, Jeff is talking about how he's used Flipgrid. That was a very, very common answer in the tweets, not Flipgrid specifically, but like the use of video, the use of audio, the use of not, you specifically said it in multiple of your questions, like it's not just about written text being our communication, but finding other avenues
I'm checking my battery level. I'm sorry. Yes.
Because we want to make sure we're communicating with our students in more than just one medium, right?
Exactly. You know, and it's just, these are things I didn't use before. I didn't use Flipgrid. I didn't use Screencastify. But now I think for them to hear my voice, because that's how I give directions.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, that's kind of the comical part. Not to derail us, I do want to go back to Mastery Chat, but I've been coaching a lot of teachers on how to use video. And so many of them are like, this is new. I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to be on camera. I'm like, but see it from the student perspective. They are used to seeing you and hearing you give directions. And they're like, well, I feel like I have to edit the video. I'm like, why? I make mistakes all the time in the classroom. And they always make fun of me. And that's like a part of the charm. You know what I mean? Like you don't need to edit anything. Like they know us. They see us every day make mistakes and give directions and fail and succeed and everything in between.
I tell my kids I perform for 47 minutes 6 times a day, you know, and that's really kind of not that teaching is a performance, but I'm on in front of them. And, you know, I'm sorry, still looking at the battery level. My screen just kind of started going dark. And, you know, it's kind of just like, we're good. We have 15 minutes, you know, but it's kind of like, I don't give directions well written. I don't follow directions well written. And so I know that talking through them, and they're all used to me going, okay, but back up, you know, and I don't know that they can't follow them if I'm not doing that.
Well, but I mean, I'm the same way, truly. Like reading is not easy for me to read something and understand it fully. And comprehension is just an area that I struggle in. But when I have somebody just like telling me directions, Jeff Gargas, I'm sure, I don't know if he's listening right now, but I call him all the time. I'm like, can you just tell me what you want? He's like, I just wrote it in an email. I'm like, I know, but could you just tell me? Because I hear it better, and our students can very often feel that way. Not for everything. You don't have to adapt to everything, but doing some things to help. I love that Don Epps, he's commented multiple times just how phenomenal you are. I was waiting for a time that we could sneak that into our conversation because he is just such a fan of the work you do, and he knows that you just make such an impact every day. And I love seeing supportive people like that.
You know, he's a huge support because he says, what is it you need? And he truly, truly, truly does not just pay lip service to those relationships. He truly believes in those student relationships. You know, there are times when you have a student who is having a difficult time. Not they're being difficult. I mean, they are, but it's because of something else. Sure. You know, you can call an administrator up, and sometimes the administrator just chews the kid out. You're done. Go on. You know, but one of the things that I really appreciate about Mr. Epps is he comes up and there's a conversation with the student. So it's more of that relationship building rather than relationship tearing down. And I think when we're all working together to make that relationship with that student, our school is stronger.
You're right. Absolutely. I like that he does make a comment. Don Epps says, I'm camera shy. I know that's not true.
Oh, yeah, that is so not true.
Don Epps, you are literally the highlight of my Teach Better 19 experience being on camera for like how long? Like I want to say 2 days, but it's probably more like 3 days. He was live on camera. Loved it. Such a hoot. I can't imagine working for him. I would love to come be your assistant in your classroom so I could work with you and Don Epps.
You know, it's our school is a high energy school. We also had Jason Koch on during Mastery Chat, and he is unfortunately leaving my school and going to an administrator position. So he's going to change his role in education. But you know, he's also one of those people. He and one of our other teachers started walking the hall on their plan period and just kind of stopping and checking in on different teachers and, are you guys doing okay? Do you need anything? And, just that knowing that somebody else is there if something happens. So it's not even just relationships. I moderated a chat, like I said, here in my state one time. And somebody said, I would have really liked to have a question about relationships with other teachers. And, I thought about how close we are as a staff and how much we work to support each other. And we could not be with our kids and have those relationships. So sometimes I think the relationships, one, it has to start with your relationship with yourself. And then it has to be with the staff and then with the kids. And I know that sounds like the wrong order, but I don't know how I can have a relationship with a kid if I don't get along with my staff members.
No, I think you're right. And I mean, that's, again, we have this in common. That's why I chose to work in the building I currently work in as a 6th grade teacher, because I love the people. And then the students are an additional positive layer. I mean, I truly love my colleagues. So it's so wonderful to be in a healthy, wonderful environment, for sure.
Yes.
Well, Carrie, you did an amazing job hosting Mastery Chat. Like I said earlier, and I want people to hear it here, there was so many ideas, so many great little things we can do for our students over the next few weeks to make sure that they're supported in whatever way possible, and especially to build those relationships. It's so much more about making sure that our students are taken care of before that we can go into content. The same concept, I know it's been repeated over and over, Maslow's before Bloom's. It's very, very important. So, Carrie, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your passion and your love and everything else. It was such a wonderful Thursday night. We just really appreciate you as a whole team. I can say that, but like personally, I just really appreciate you. So
thanks, Ray.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
So fun. For everybody else, don't forget, we are doing our daily drop-ins every single morning. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern in our private group. And then don't forget, if you want to participate, you have to be in our private group. But just to get the audio and consume the information, you can also get it as a bonus episode of Teach Better Talk podcast and over on YouTube. And then we just launched our webinar series. Carrie, I don't know if you saw that.
I've seen that.
Yeah, we have a 6-week webinar series where we are going to do 12 sessions. Oop, we lost Carrie. We're going to do 12 sessions. You can register over at teachbetter.com/webinar series. And there's going to be not only members of the Teach Better team, but also we're bringing in our speakers network to provide a number of different supports. And we just want to make sure that you're getting what you need. And this is completely free. So if you want to go register for that, you can. I know we lost Carrie. I'm so sad that we didn't get to say an official goodbye to her, but I can say to you, if you're watching now, we appreciate you. We believe in you. And if there's anything that the team can do, or Carrie or anyone else in our network to better support you, please let us know. We really are here to make sure that we are all taken care of, not only for ourselves, but also for our students. So thank you for all that you do, guys. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your evening.